The last couple of days have been, well, shall we say, heated for Helldivers, hot on the heels of Monday's biggest ever update. Now, I posted a video about that wall of changes the very day it went live, and I basically laid out my initial thoughts based on the change logs I was reading through, but I also stated that I wanted some time to test things out before giving my final thoughts. And there are way bigger issues here than some of these specific changes. Welcome to the channel, it's LtBuzzLitebeer, and we've got a lot to run through today, but first, I wanted to again say how much I appreciate your continued support for my content. In case you haven't done so already, please take a moment to hit subscribe and to hit that notifications bell to receive my latest and greatest upload alerts. And let's check out what's been going down with Helldivers. First things first, there is a new Superstore Reset, set now with a 3-day timer, featuring the CM10 Clinician Medium Body Armor with Medkit for +2 stims and 2 seconds more stim duration, the matching CM10 Clinician Spaceman Helmet, the FS37 Ravager Helmet, and the FS37 Ravager Light Body Armor with Engineering Kit for reduced recoil and +2 grenade carrying capacity. Making our way over there and checking in on the Galaxy table, and the Mutant Bug TCS Major Order continues onward. We are currently sitting at just about 4 days to go. Fenrir 3 is nearly completed, while Errata Prime and Touring show little progress. There's also a defense campaign currently active on Astanu and a liberation campaign on Crimsica, so you know, Helldivers are kind of being spread around the bug sectors. Today's daily or personal order is to kill 25 hunters, and since we're already over there and hitting those bug missions, this should be super easy to knock out, if not in one mission, in the first 45 seconds of touching down planetside. And now, onto the matter at hand, that patch. And you can't see me, but I'm over here air quoting like a boss right now, that patch. So, I've been checking out some of these Reddit posts for myself, and Monday's changes seem to have sparked some ferocity and division in the Helldiver player base, the likes of which even that previous, highly unpopular Railgun nerf patch never saw. Now, for the record, I'm going to be approaching this as a player with 225-ish hours sunk into the game, and I almost exclusively play on Helldive difficulty, either in an organized Discord party on mics, or even through the random matchmaker if I can find a group at the time of day that I log on. I also play solo and in groups, so you're kind of going to be getting the full spectrum of player experiences here when I lay this all out for you. Okay, so the testing. And this is the reason I held off on posting this video yesterday, and it entirely comes down to the fact that I wanted to let these changes kind of settle in a bit. I wanted them to mature. I wanted to put them to the test, so to say, based on how I knew they performed prior to Monday, and of course, after Monday's patch. And for the record, I am strongly opposed to any kind of nerf-first weapons and gear mentality in PvE games. I mean, we aren't here for the esports scene. As far as I know, there is no ultra-competitive speedrunning community, and there is no RNG gear farming or even PvP. Helldivers is all about the experience of just ultra-frenetic combat mixed in with gameplay objectives. That's it. It's simple math, and it's damn fun to play. Also, as I start to go back through these changes and give my honest thoughts, I'm not trying to minimize any negative effects these changes may have had on your personal playstyles. I'm just giving my honest opinions here. Anyways, let's get to the point, right? TLDR here is that Monday's patch, 1.000.300, really hasn't altered the game that much, if any. This Reddit post from Mendak Viking, an awesome member of our Helldiver Discord community, shout out to them by the way. Anyways, their post has earned over 5,000 Reddit upvotes, and as I look back over the changes and then kind of tested them out for myself, well, here, let's just focus in on a few, starting off with the biggie, the Quasar cannon. Now for the record, 5 seconds extra cooldown was a bit too severe, I admit that. Since the damage and handling was not touched, something more like a 2-second additional cooldown would have been a bit more appropriate, but it's still a really strong weapon. With the Quasar, you're getting that awesome anti-tank punch in a portable package, never needing a reload, and it doesn't take up a backpack spot. And here's the thing, you can still get it to cool down in the standard 10 seconds. Just fire it, swap back to your primary, and then back to the Quasar 10 seconds later to go right around that cooldown timer. The railgun nerfs of the past were far more severe than what this strat had done to it on Monday. Overall, many of these weapons got some form of buffs as well. I mean, it could have been to base damage, it could have been to fire rate, or even a decrease in damage fall off, which is always a good thing to see. And while most of these changes are not to popular pre-patch weapons, for example, I tried out last night the Arc Blitzer, which is now actually a somewhat viable primary weapon. I mean, it's nowhere close to S tier, but pre-patch, I would never consider using that thing, and it's 30 fire rate, but bumping it now up to 45 RPM has brought it somewhat to life. I'd still like to see even more RPM, say 60, and for the sake of my trigger finger, the possibility of a full auto trigger mode, and that's just one example here. There's also weapons like the laser cannon, which is now lethal versus chaff, and you could also lump in there the scythe. The sickle is still the sickle, just with half as many heat sinks, and I guess I could say something here about infinite ammo and using trigger discipline, but it's just not needed to make the point. The crossbow was always a bit niche to begin with, and while it does now shoot a bit straighter, it's also gone from an okay chaff destroyer to now a medium target tickler. Point is, it wasn't and still isn't a top pick for most Helldiver players. We could talk about how the Adjudicator is now better overall. The Punisher Plasma feels more viable. And you know, I could lay out even more examples here. Hell, I'm even dying less now to environmental fire, like orbital laser residuals, and that's always a good thing, although Hulk Fire seems to be as OP as ever. Personally, I don't know why Arrowhead felt the need to back down available ammo on certain weapons. Again, it's a bit of a gut punch, especially in a PvE horde-style shooter, but both pre- and post-patch, I'm personally not running around screaming for a resupply. The Dominator still feels like it did before, and while the railgun is listed here as receiving some buffs, it is still almost as useless as it was after it was hit in one of those early patches. I was really concerned overall also about the Guard Dog Rover, which was S tier for bugs prior to Monday, and even with a 30% reduction in damage, it still melts chaff, which is why I will still equip it. Brood Commanders and Bile Spewers don't die as quickly to it anymore, but then again, neither do I or my fellow Helldivers when it decides to go rogue and target an enemy that requires a shot straight through my abdomen. Now, as far as the patrol tweaks, especially aimed at solo Helldive difficulty or these higher difficulties and how they relate to spawn rates, I can't really comment on that. You see, I didn't solo that much prior to Monday's patch, but assuming my math here is correct, if a full squad on Helldive difficulty is seeing 100% of the enemy patrols, and prior to Monday, solo Helldive was seeing, at least according to these statements, 1/6 of that, they were looking at 16.7% of what a full squad would actually see. That rate has now been pushed up to 25%. So now a solo Helldive difficulty is seeing a quarter of what a Helldive squad will see. Again, assuming my math here is correct. And maybe someone out there that has extensive experience with solo Helldive difficulty, both pre and post patch, can comment on how these spawn rates are looking. Leave me a comment, please. Thank you. I also wanted to mention there was one hidden change here in the patch notes, and it's not actually a secret nerf, but I would call it more one that was not worded to be entirely transparent, and it has to do with Hulk's pre-patch stagger and the arc thrower. Now here in the notes, all that is mentioned is that Hulk stagger now requires more force to achieve it. But what it has really done is make the arc thrower less effective at keeping those brutes locked in place. But, you know, overall in terms of the favorite Helldiver loadouts, things like the autocannon, it's still a beast. The Sickle, Scorcher, and Breaker, they all still slap. Even the Eruptor, which prior to Monday was super god S tier, it's still really good. I mean, it's not best in class anymore, but it's really close to the top. And of course, we've already talked about the Queso Cannon and that cooldown timer workaround, and then those odd ammo reductions. Again, I'm not coming at this discussion from a position of supreme sweatlord. Neither am I a super casual. You know, I'm somewhere in between. And from that level of experience, Monday did little to alter the way the game plays for me. A point that was echoed by a poll I ran over on my YouTube community page, where 79% of respondents said that Monday's patch either did nothing different for the way the game played for them, or the changes actually helped the game. Anyways, let's table the actual individual weapons, gear, and gameplay changes discussion for just a bit, because I think I've kind of talked that one out ad nauseum. Right now, there are even bigger fish to fry, because anytime Arrowhead dives into the deep end with these massive balance patches, they may fix one thing, but then they completely break 7 others, and Monday's patch was no different. Performance-wise, the game is suffering. A point confirmed by Twinbeard over in the Helldiver Discord, and there is something catastrophic currently going on with the 1s and 0s of the game code, causing severe performance drops. I can sometimes see 60 to 80 FPS drops, especially when there's a lot kind of going on around me and my squad, which I don't think I need to say is jarring on the senses when it happens. Of course, we've got this ongoing friends list issue continuing to plague the dev team at Arrowhead, and it has ever since launch. We've also got this crazy new discourse bouncing all over Reddit and other social channels, talking about the devs' new approach to ricochets. I don't know if you've seen this one, but you know, on the surface, the concept at least sounds cool, but in reality, in practice, and in true form, this has caused a million more issues that we just didn't need in the live game right now. Again, a culprit that we've seen constantly here, the text is poorly written, but the idea is to get more ricochets aimed back at the Helldiver who actually fired the shots than before, you know, to put more emphasis on being precise with shots aimed at armor enemies, which is made all that more difficult by another known issue, misaligned scopes, and this is an issue that's been on the known issues board since the game launched. True to form, Arrowhead tossed this new mechanic in, kind of half-baked, half-cocked, and the results have not been good. At first, it was because of rocket ricochets, but that was later debunked by the player base. We've had arguments, debates, etc., and finally the devs have responded with this wall of text explanation that it is down to the shrapnel effect from the eruptor, which will now be removed, instead buffing up the hit damage per shot. Also, on a side note, and one of my personal favorite issues to see in the game, and hopefully you can tell I'm being sarcastic there, is when you call in the extraction shuttle, you've got all hell breaking loose on the landing pad, and as you attempt to kite the mobs that are hot on your heels, you're making your way over to the shuttle. One of your divers actually makes it into the shuttle, and the thing just takes off. No stratagem trolls dropping red beams all over the pad. There's no shenanigans going on. The timer still has plenty of time left on the clock, and there it goes, leaving you and other members of your squad planetside along with those 30 to 60 samples. The worst thing about this one is that there is no indication as to what's going on. You get no alerts. There's no screaming pilot telling you the shuttle is taking too much damage. Just poof. Your ass has been left behind. Hell, there's even this on again, off again, now coming in springtime, spear stratagem lock-on fix. I guess to kind of wrap this thing up, I love playing Helldivers, but I don't think it's above criticism and has rightfully earned its fair share. But what has gone down over the past 48 hours post-patch is just mental, especially when you compare it to the much more detrimental issues that have now found their way into the live game. Remember to hit subscribe and to ring that notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. All my socials can be found in the video description below, including an open invite link, so you can join our fast-growing Helldiver Discord community. By the way, shout out to the nearly 221,000 of you awesome Super Earth citizens out there for sticking by my side and always supporting my content. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.